I know.
Wait, that's from the U.S. State Department?
Yeah, not the North Korean State Department. Yeah, the U.S. government.
That's like, there was a story that I read, I think probably on Reddit recently. It was like, this woman was like, hey everybody, I need some help. I just got this subpoena in the mail, and you have to show up for court, and it's for my 6-month-old daughter. And I called and I said, well, this is my 6-month-old daughter. I think you subpoenaed the wrong person. And they said, no, she must show up for court or we will throw her in jail. So the woman went with the baby and was like, all right, we're here. I don't know what you want us to testify about, but we're here.
Testimony.
Yeah.
So what did they do? Did they interrogate the kid?
No, I don't think so. I
think it's time to put the kid in a dark room with shed a light in her eyes.
No.
Where's the binky?
Yeah, really. Yeah, so I feel like that's about on the same page.
Yeah. It's loony. It's crazy. That's the government for you. They also filed a Freedom of Information Act request, which turned up 14 documents, and the government released only one of them, which said nothing other than that the Chinese government hasn't found any trace of David. Well, okay. And the other 13 they're not releasing because privacy concerns and national security concerns and such and that, which is really kind of interesting because if the U.S. government knows nothing, then why are they withholding 13 documents?
And those things would have been redacted. So technically all their secrecy stuff should be blacked out.
Should be okay, yeah.
I guess for me it makes a little bit of sense because it's easier. There's like a plausible deniability aspect to this, right? Where if you release these documents and you say, yeah, we know that North Korea has him and we're like trying to get him back. Okay, guys. Then people will be like, well, try harder, or well, whatever. Versus, because there's a possibility that he'll die or be killed over there, right?
Yeah.
And so it looks, publicity-wise, it looks way better to be able to say, we just found out the North Koreans had David and they killed him. We had no idea. Than it does to say, like, yeah, we're working on getting him back. Oh.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, saving face and all that stuff.
It's probably politically it's better.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. It's even possible if the Chinese government themselves were not involved in David's disappearance.
Yeah, it's totally possible.
But it would be embarrassing for them to admit that a foreign power is active, has agents active on their soil, and is actually abducting people. That would be kind of embarrassing for them.
A foreign agent that is worldwide, I think, painted as kind of buffoons, right? Like we kind of worldwide paint North Korea as this like kind of bumbling idiot of a country.
Yeah.
Where we make fun of them and it's like I eat this North Korea, but it would be a huge change in public opinion if you were able to say like, hey, they're actually being highly successful at covert operations of kidnapping people all across the world.
They have kidnapped people from all over the place, Europe and especially Japan and South Korea, but a lot of other places too. And interestingly, the guy we talked about a little while ago, David Jenkins, he's the guy that defected in 1965 and was held prisoner. The American soldier. Yeah, he's living in Japan now, and his personal belief is that they're not just abducting people for training purposes, but they're also abducting them to breed them. Yeah, because
interesting.
If you have he said that the Koreans actually were gifted a bunch of American POWs from Vietnam. They were handed over to the North Koreans, and he said that they went out and found them wives to mate with, because the whole idea is to have somebody who is ethnically South Korean or ethnically white American, but raise them and indoctrinate them in North Korea, and then you've got yourself a nice little spy to plant overseas. So he thinks it's more than just training. The guy has an interesting story.
It's a long-range plan, then.
Yeah, very long range. And he himself, David Jenkins, still is looking over his shoulder. When he left North Korea, the understanding was he was going to come back. He left with his daughters. His wife was already in Japan and had been there for a couple of years. He left, of course, and never came back. And so he said that he doesn't go out at night.
Well, I mean, the thing is he didn't leave right away because his wife was one of the original parties that...
She was one of the abductees that was returned to Japan in 2002.
Well, she was... The trip was, we're going to let you go visit your family, and then you'll come back. And, of course, as soon as they got there, the Japanese government said, no, you're staying. We're not sending you back.
Yeah.
And so
Fair enough.
He's then, of course, in fear for his life because it's a shame aspect, I guess. I don't know exactly what it was that he thought meant that the North Koreans were going to kill him, but he was really worried about that.
If I were in his situation, I would definitely do one of those underskin trackers, that you can embed in people. I would definitely do that and be like, here, everybody that I care about, here's the code to the GPS tracker that I've embedded into my body. If I disappear, please use it and find me.
Find my body.
Watched a lot of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Speaking of just the North Korean nastiness and craziness is also David Jenkins. He was of course imprisoned there for many, many years, and at some point somebody noticed, one of the North Koreans noticed that he had an army tattoo on his arm, and so that just wouldn't do. So they took him to a doctor, and the doctor used a scalpel and scissors to excise the tattoo. Without anesthesia.
No.
All because, oh my God, he's got a tattoo. It's crazy. Anyway.
Nope.
Yeah.
I could never go there.
No.
Yeah. No, that's my advice.
With all your army tattoos.
Yeah.
Spent tattoos in general.
Oh yeah.
No.
Army.
Even if you're tattoo free, I don't recommend going to North Korea if you can possibly help it.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's about it. We got our theories. There's a theory that he ran away. David Snedden ran away to join the circus, which I find completely implausible.
Agreed.
There is a theory.
I don't agree. I think there is some. I said this before. I think there's some credence to it. I'm not on board with it, but I still consider it a possibility.
I think that's just your wide-eyed hope.
Yeah. That's what I think too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. He would have gone back for his backpack and his money in his bank account. So
maybe
he fell in the gorge. No, the Sneddons have pretty much disproved that. He was murdered by a serial killer. That seems pretty unlikely. Mm-hmm. Although, he's murdered and wound up being ostrich meat in the local marketplace. It's actually more plausible than the idea that he ran off to start a new life somewhere.
Yeah.
But it still is far from proven.
Has it ever been suggested that maybe he was seen with that attractive woman? Mm-hmm. Has it ever been suggested that maybe she was married, or she was there with her boyfriend, and that it was a jealous lover situation?
No, nobody's ever suggested that, although that's possible.
Entirely
possible. That he was, murdered, or that wasn't he traveling a little bit with that married family and the guide?
Yeah.
Maybe the husband of that couple got jealous and threw him over. Or, I mean, I think there's a murder aspect of it that doesn't necessarily have to be serial murder or somebody who went out just to kill him. It could have been a fit of rage sort of thing.
Yeah, a lot of murders don't fit timelines. They don't fit into this nice little puzzle that we're laying out. They just kind of happen. People do random weird stuff, and it ends up with the loss of somebody else's life.
Or it's like the whole thing from I Know What You Did Last Summer, where he was just walking down a road going to get his backpack, and somebody accidentally ran him over.
Yeah,
and hid the body. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's entirely possible.
Yeah.
And, then, of course, our last theory, which is that he was kidnapped by the North Koreans, which I think is the most plausible, personally, of the theories. Not proven.
My only issue with the North Korea theory is they are easy target in this. Not that I don't think that they deserve to be, but they're the convenient one. And do you know what I'm getting at here? It's everybody says North Korea's there, and they're a bunch of jerks, and they do all this stuff, so they must be responsible.
And we have no idea what's going on in North Korea, so it's really easy to just say there's no way for us to know.
Information blackout means I get to fill in the holes with whatever I want.
That's true. I mean, it's entirely possible that the Chinese government could have taken him, and they're holding him.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's likely, because why? They don't need English teachers. The Chinese have a lot of interactions with the U.S. and Europe, and they don't really need him for any particular reason, so that's why.
No.
But it's possible. I mean, it's possible that they arrested him for questioning for whatever reason, and he accidentally died in their custody. Mm-hmm. That's entirely possible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and so
true, yeah.
there's all kinds of possibilities, but I'm still saying that the North Koreans are my favorite suspect in this one.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's about it. Unless you guys want to theorize anymore.
No, I don't really have anything else.
I'm good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm sure if you're out there listening, you've probably got ideas of your own about this, and so definitely, if you want to communicate them to us, you can send us an email. We are at thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com. So if you want to discuss this or any other mysteries, send us an email, please. You can find us on our website at thinkingsidewayspodcast.com, where you can download episodes and you can check links. We post links to all these various mysteries that we talk about. And you can also leave comments, preferably polite comments. Yeah. You can also find us on iTunes. If you find us out there, please subscribe and leave us a rating and a review. We like that, especially good ratings and reviews. And you can, if you want to stream us, well, there's about 20 billion websites that you can stream us from. So go find one of them.
And apps.
And
A lot of those are apps now.
Yeah, oh, that's true. We're also on Facebook. So find us on Facebook. We have a group. You can join the group and have exciting discussions about all kinds of cool stuff. We're on Twitter, where we are Thinking Sideways, not thinking, but Thinking Sideways. And last of all, of course, we are now on Patreon, so you can find us out there if you want to. Completely optional, but if you feel like it, you can, pledge a small amount of money per episode. And again, totally optional, because I read a lot of blogs and stuff like that, and I don't hit the tip jars, so I'm not trying to guilt anybody into anything. Just if you feel like it. Okay, so that's it for this week. Any last thoughts, guys?
No?
Me neither. My mind is blank. So, bye, everybody. We'll see you in a week.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. And I want the ostrich meat.
Ew.
This week's episode of Thinking Sideways is not brought to you by rage-filled emails. No, instead it's brought to you by your local animal shelter. So you want to get a furry, feathered, scaly friend, one or the other, not all three. You should go to your local animal shelter before you go to that pet store, because there's so many cute little fuzzy critters out there that are really wanting to find a good home. If you already have one, but you just want to help out, there's other ways you can help out rather than donating. You can donate to your local animal rescue or dog shelter, cat shelter, whatever. And also, if you don't have a lot of money, they always need volunteers, and it'll be a great experience. You'll meet wonderful animals and people too. So yeah, don't waste any time. Get down to your local shelter today and say hi to Fluffy, Fido, and Godzilla for me.
Thinking Sideways.
I don't get it.
I brought the aliens.
You must unlearn what you have learned.
I don't know. Stories of things we simply don't know the answer to.
Hey, everybody, and welcome again to another episode of Thinking Sideways. I am Steve, of course, joined by Devin.
And Joe?
Thank you.
I was trying to introduce you guys, but thanks for blowing it.
Sorry, it just threw me off. I didn't know what we were doing. Do this right.
No, it really does kind of change up every week. But this week, what is going to be true, as with every other week, is that we have a mystery to cover.
We
Solve.
do. Oh yeah.
Maybe
good point.
solve. Maybe just shed a little light on. I don't know, but we're going to get into it. I do want to tell everybody, though, that this week's story, it involves a lot of death, and it involves a lot of adult themes. So if you have little ears around, or if death and adult themes bother you, pause this one or skip it and save it for later, whatever works for you.
Yeah, wait till really late at night, then listen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
By yourself.
while you're walking down the street.
There you go.
This week we're going to be talking about the Daytona Beach serial killer, who is believed to have killed somewhere between 3 to 7 women between 2005 and 2007.
So it's a new mystery.
It's a newer mystery, yeah.
New for us.
Yeah, he's probably still out there killing. He's probably listening right now.
I hope not.
Yeah. It's you!
No.
According to the internet, Joe, it is you.
No! He says before I even finished the sentence.
I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't even know what murder is.
The Daytona Beach serial killer, some people say, has killed 3 to 7 women. Other places, the low number is 4. We'll get into that later on because that kind of depends on who gets attributed to it, but that's something we'll deal with later. I do also want to let everybody know that we were lucky enough to talk with reporter and author Christine Pelisek recently, and we're going to be sharing some of the audio from that conversation during the episode. The reason we had Christine on is she recently published her book titled The Grim Sleeper, The Lost Women of South Central, which tells the story of serial killer Lonnie David Franklin Jr.
Recently convicted.
Yeah.
Like last year.
Yeah. He killed... Okay, his numbers are not exactly firm either, but it's
crazy.
Between 10 to over 25 women between 1985 and 2007.
You gotta give that guy some candy to bribe him and get him to fess up.
They need to give him some kind of drug. I don't think candy's the right thing. They're going to give him something eventually.
Yeah.
But the Grim Sleeper case shares a lot of similarities with the Daytona Beach serial killer case, which is why we talked to Christine, because there's a lot of things that are very similar, and so it seemed like a great opportunity to get her insight on these kind of questions.
Well, and frankly, you never know. I mean, Lonnie might have actually committed the murders in Daytona Beach. Who knows?
Maybe. I highly doubt it, but
doubt
it's
it,
possible.
too.
I guess not. Also, I could fly out of this room with only my imaginary wings. That is possible as well. No? No.
But so we're going to talk about the Daytona Beach serial killer first, correct?
Primarily, all we're going to talk about is the Daytona Beach serial killer. Most of the stuff with the Grim Sleeper will come up in the theory section, and we'll call out when we're talking about similarities, because they're pretty striking or pretty easy to spot.
Okay.
So here's our story. On Christmas Eve of 2005, Laketta Gunther left her house, or her friend's house, I should say. Her friend's name is Stacy Dittmer. She wanted to go out and have a couple of drinks and celebrate at a bar that she normally frequented. The two ladies had a tradition of that night they would stay up late and they would cook all of the food that they were going to serve the next day. It was kind of a holiday tradition. I think they've been doing it for at least 4 years in a row they had done it. So Stacy Dittmer, she was a little upset that her friend was leaving, but said, well, okay, I mean, if you're going to go, she said, listen, I want to go and party. I'll be back in a little bit. It's no big deal.
A little bit turned out to be a long time, I guess.
Yeah, because her few hours of going out turned into a long time, and she never came back.
She did wind up somewhere, though.
By no means did Miss Gunther Laketta live, a life of luxury. She was 45. She was a day laborer when she could get work, and when things were tight, she would go to the local shelter to get meals. She also liked her drinks and was known when she had money to spend a lot of time at the bar. And when she was there, sometimes, according to some of the reading anyway, she was not afraid to ask people for money to have one more round.
It's interesting she asked people for money, not drinks.
I think part of that is the way the articles frame it. She may very well have said, listen, can you buy me one more?
It probably was that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why you would be like, hey, man, can I have 20?
Yeah, so I can have a drink.
So I can have a drink?
Well,
why wouldn't you just say, hey, can you throw this on your tab?
But I also don't know that if it wasn't she was standing outside and, let's say, having a cigarette, somebody walked by and she asked for a couple of bucks so she'd get one more drink. I mean, I don't know how this went down.
I think it happened in the bar, because otherwise they wouldn't have had this account.
Yeah.
Right,
Maybe.
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if there were locals or other regulars, they would be able to account for if it happened inside or outside. Probably they could have all been standing outside. I mean,
Yeah, if there's
people
somebody...
just stand outside and smoke in groups. And...
Sure. Yeah.
One of the other things that I've read about Laketta is, by the way, I hope I'm pronouncing her name. We just had an internal conversation about it. I'm not exactly sure, but we're going to run with that.
We did just say it and commit.
Yep,
Yeah,
I've committed to it. I've said it a couple of times.
It's not Laquita. It's not Laquetta.
Yeah, and it's at least you're not the
Laquita.
captain who says Madeline McCain.
But she, according to the reporting, she liked drugs, and she was not averse to taking them. But I've only seen that in a couple of places, and it never was very specific. I mean, it's it's just as if it feels like to me maybe they just threw that in because they could.
Well,
So I can't 100% say that truly is what was going on.
there are people out there who, will just, they're not druggies so much. They do take the occasional line of coke if somebody's offering.
Or somebody offers them a joint or something like that.
Yeah.
That
So,
could
yeah.
be it.
Yeah.
But like I said, she's a day laborer when she can get work. She doesn't have a whole lot of money, and when times are tight, she was known to pick up the occasional John to get a little bit of extra money. She wasn't a full-time sex worker. It was, the way I got it, or the impression I got was that it was to make ends meet.
So every once in a while.
On the 26th of December, a body is found in an alley near a bar called Willie's Place. And remember that name because it comes up several times in this story. That's where she was known to hang out, and the body, of course, turned out to be hers. It was in the fetal position. Some of her clothes had been removed. She'd been shot in the back of the head. The gun had, the bullet had done enough damage to her face that they had to identify her via her tattoos. They couldn't do a visual identification. The ballistics say that it was a .40 caliber Smith & Wesson that she was shot with, which is not a small gun.
No.
And at close range like that. They also believe that the shooter used hollow points.
Probably.
So that would explain the damage to her face.
Actually, you can really tell that from just the bullet that you pull out of their head, You can
Well,
tell
I don't know if
it's
it
a
was.
hollow
I don't
point or
know
not.
where the bullet was, Joe. I know that they. I'm pretty sure this one they recovered the bullet, but it was massive. The damage that it did to her.
I guess, yeah.
They did check her body. They did find DNA from another individual. They ran it through the system, and they got no hits. They had no idea who this other person was.
And that was saliva, right?
I believe it was saliva, yes.
Yeah.
I believe all of them are saliva, but they're all the same. I might be getting mixed up with the Grim Sleeper, so I'm not actually going to commit to that 100% because I've been
DNA.
reading about so much of both lately.
Yeah.
But the point is, they didn't have anything, and they had no idea what happened to her on Christmas Eve of that year. And her case it kind of died on the vine right there. That's all they had.
Mm-hmm.
Less than a month later, so this would be the 14th of January 2006, about 5 miles away from where Laketta was found, a construction worker at a site near LPGA Boulevard found a body in a ditch.
They actually have a street called LPGA Boulevard.
They
huh?
do.
Really?
Right near a golf course.
Yeah.
Now remember, we're in Daytona Beach, so they have the speedways
Yeah.
and they have golf courses. And this is near a golf course.
Okay.
So that's why.
Just seems like an inelegant name. I get it, but
To the golfers, it's an awesome name, I'll
I'm
bet you.
sure. Yeah.
So, the construction worker, the body that this individual found, it would turn out to be a woman whose name was Julie Ann Green. Julie was 34, and she was also a regular at Willie's Place. As a matter of fact, I think they knew each other.
At least a little bit, because
Yeah, at least in passing.
Yeah, because I know that one of her friend, what's her name? You were talking about a minute ago.
Stacy Dittmer.
Yeah, put up essentially kind of a poster saying,